Okay. Hello, everyone out there. It looks like you should be able to see and hear us. Just had to reset. Okay.
No.
And Matt and Jim, can you hear us? Yes and yes. You guys are muted. That is excellent. You can unmute whenever you're ready to speak. So,
All right,
Mr. Eager.
everybody ready? All righty, we'll call this meeting to order at 7:06. Thanks, everybody, for those in the public and those at home for joining us. All righty, pledge of allegiance. Dr. Huff.
All right. Everyone like to join us? Pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All righty, if everybody please join me in a moment of meditation. Thank you. All righty, do we have anybody from the audience?
We did not have any requests to speak.
All right.
Yes.
Item 2, consent agenda. Dr. Howe.
All right. Thank you, board. Consent agenda is very short because we do not have any press release, donations, field trips, or fundraisers right now. So the only thing on the consent agenda this evening are just our normal accounts payable and payroll. So I recommend the board approve consent agenda as presented.
Board members, any questions? I entertain a motion.
So moved.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please raise your right hand. Motion carries 4-0. Item 3, superintendent report.
All right. First item on superintendent report is personnel agenda, and this is a little bit lengthy. So I just want to hit a few highlights. We have several folks on here being approved tonight as our summer school teachers and paraprofessionals. So a big thank you to all those folks for their help. Board, obviously this year summer school is going to look a little differently since students will still not be allowed in our building until June 30th. Our staff has been working hard to get ready to still be able to offer courses virtually. So big thank you to them for their work and the work that I know they're going to do this summer. In addition to those, Mr. Ashby has submitted a letter of resignation, so thank you for his time here at Busco Schools. Mrs. Kathy Beckman has submitted her intent to retire at the end of this year, so a huge thank you for all her years of service here at Virginia Senior High. Mrs. Bayansky has also submitted her intent to retire effective May 18th. So Mrs. Bayansky has worked here for almost 19 years, so a big thank you to her for her years with the district. Mr. Fauerbaugh has actually submitted a request to return to the classroom in our vacant math position. So a big thank you to him for his work as assistant principal and for the great things that I know he's going to do as he continues working with our students in the classroom. Mrs. Polakovic, Mrs. Sarah Polakovic, has submitted her intent to retire at the end of the year. So a big thank you to her. Mrs. Renee Schembeckler has submitted a letter of resignation. She's pursuing a new opportunity. So huge congratulations to her. And thank you for her 6.5 years here at Busco. She will definitely be missed. And then 2 new hires, Mrs. Chelsea Yulee is being recommended tonight to be employed as our new CES secretary to replace Mrs. Fitzgerald. So welcome to her. And then also Mrs. Stephanie Wiggy is being recommended to take over an open 3rd grade spot we have in the elementary. And Mrs. Wiggy has actually worked for us this year as a long-term sub, but wanted to bring that forward as an official recommendation tonight for because we would like to recommend her as a full-time teacher because she's done an outstanding job and we would love to have her stay on with us. So with that, I recommend the board approve personnel agenda.
Questions, board? All righty, I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
I'll second it.
Got a motion and a second. All those in favor, please raise your right hand. Motion carries 4-0.
All right. Thank you, board. There are no pending items tonight since we did not have any hires last time. I guess we'll have some for next time. And then COVID-19. I don't know that I have anything new to share other than last week, board, you're aware, I did announce that we were going to go ahead and move graduation to July 24th in the hopes that we will be able to still have an in-person ceremony for our seniors. I know that that's what everyone would definitely prefer to have. What that will look like is still a little bit up in the air. My hope is that we would still be able to use the gym just to make sure we're able to have a nice ceremony and not have any weather issues or whatnot. It is very likely that we may have to limit crowds, of course, because it's probable that the pandemic will still be into that state. But definitely want to try to honor our seniors in person if at all possible. But we will continue to get guidance from our local health officials and also our state folks as we get closer to that date to make those determinations. Otherwise, we are staying in contact with our local folks and our state leaders. Every week, we get new information. Right now, there's not a lot of guidance for fall. There's been a lot of conversations about things that could happen or might happen, but at this point, it's early enough that there really is nothing definite. We are naturally trying to think ahead to what would it look like if we did have to socially distance when the students come back to school? What would it look like if some students can't come back to school? How would we provide them with education, et cetera? Just trying to think ahead. A big one that we've talked a lot about is how does this affect school buses and busing? It's very difficult to socially distance and to do that on a school bus full of children. There are solutions, but they will not be easy or cheap. So, but if that's what we have to do, we will have a plan. Again, Jody and April and I have talked about some ideas. Again, right now we're kind of waiting to see where things really are before we go crazy. But we have purchased some PPE materials. We've ordered 500 masks just to have on hand for our staff. Region 8 was able to get us a good price and a good supply, so those should actually come this week. We also ordered 3 of the infrared temporal thermometers to have in the nurses' clinic, again, just to have available for this fall because we have a feeling we may need some of those. Otherwise, we're kind of holding tight on any other equipment. We have plenty of gloves right now. Don't want to spend too many funds on things that we may not use, but are obviously going to keep an eye on that. So we're just trying to be good stewards of our money and plan, but just trying to learn as we go and watch what we're being told. We'll see. Yep.
Legislative report,
Not for me.
other business, education professions textbook.
Okay, so Mr. Folland, you are up.
Good evening, board.
Oh, hello.
Good
Hi.
evening.
This evening, we have a couple textbooks that need to be approved. We had courses that were approved in December. So the first course is educational or education professions. And Mr. Ruiz looked through different materials, and the one that he selected is methods of effective teaching. And so I'm asking you to approve the adoption of this textbook for education professions.
Board, questions? I entertain a motion.
So moved.
You got a motion and a second? All those in favor, please raise your right hands. Motion carries 4-0. Alrighty.
All right, the next textbook is for business management. This course was also approved in December, and it is also going to be taught by Mr. Ruiz. So he selected Business Management 13th edition. It's also going to be a classroom set. And I just ask that you approve this textbook for business management.
Board, questions? Entertain a motion.
So moved. I'll second.
You got a motion and a second. All those in favor, please raise your right hand. Motion carries 4-0. Alrighty, item D, textbook rental fees.
In front of you, you have a spreadsheet with all of our textbook fees. And in red, those are fees that are increasing this year or are new. in green is a decrease in amounts. And if you'll notice on the first page, principles of business management, education professions, and then digital applications, both of those increase. Obviously, the first two are new courses, and we just adopted those textbooks. And then we did need an update in digital applications textbook for the upcoming year. On the next page for English Language Arts, you will notice that there was a decrease in the textbook fee because they are a little bit older. But we did increase the technology fee for those courses. So basically, a decrease in the text fee and an increase in technology. We did not see an increase in the total amount for English. And the last page, under miscellaneous. Previously, we did have a student technology fee. We split that out into some other areas. So if you look at, there's a technology for Brain Pop. So it went from 0 to $249. And then Canvas increased slightly. And then Vocabulary is a web-based tool that is used by English. So that is the increase there. So we have several increases in technology under miscellaneous. And that's all we have that is new for next year.
All righty. Should we give her a minute to?
Where's she at? Look. Here she comes. Here she comes.
We're waiting on Kathy to join us.
Looks like she's coming. She's turned on her video yet. Kathy, can you hear us?
Yeah,
Okay, I see, you're unmuted, so, okay.
We just had Kathy, of course, rental fees and student fees. Jim just went over that. We're ready to, if you had any questions on that before we vote?
No.
Rest of the board? All righty, I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please raise your right hand. Can't see you, Kathy, but is that a yes?
yes.
Motion carries 5-0.
There she is, okay.
Alrighty.
Very good.
Alrighty.
CES fees, I think.
Which one are we in?
The
CES.
I think you just.
Oh, I went on the wrong one. Yep. Okay, I'm sorry.
Okay,
All right, Matt.
Matt, you ready? Okay.
Awesome. Good evening, everybody. In front of you, there's a packet of our course offerings and our costs for this year. This year's kind of scattered all over the place. And the main one to look at is that chart that's on the front page. Everything that's in parentheses is what our previous costs were. The bold is what it will be this year. And then to the right, that far end of the table is the increase or decrease. So the first ones that I want to bring your attention to are K1. Obviously, that's a large increase, and there's two reasons for that. One, we did adopt new materials, so everybody's K through 5 fluctuated a bit. But mostly what that fee is the Chromebook case. The last couple of years, 2 years ago, we did 4th and 5th grade. Last year, we did 2nd and 3rd, and now we're down to K and 1. That's a one-time fee. So as you can see, second and third grade, they kind of came down even with, or just a slight increase with the new adoption. And that's because that $24 fee for the Chromebook cases came off. Kids potentially have the opportunity to keep that K through 12 then. Obviously, we know the odds of that happening are very slim to keep a bag intact from K to 12, but that is a one-time fee until that goes away. With the exception of kindergarten, that will always be a fee to them because we are at the point now where everybody has their Chromebooks. So they will pay that when they come into kindergarten, and then they will be done with that. Even with that increase, it brings them up to right where we are with all of our other grade levels. Obviously then, one of the things we're most excited about these costs, when you look at our older grades, even with adopting a brand new series, we either just came up a couple of dollars or actually went down a couple of dollars. So all of the work the past few years of kind of skimping on some of the things and taking some of the dead weight off has really paid off to not have a huge increase, but yet get a brand new platform for all of our reading materials. So I don't know if you have any questions on that, but really the big changes are those Chromebook bags with the addition of those in K-1. The other thing is 5th grade is a little bit high for me right now, the cost. We've been talking, our social studies has been adopted for 6 years, so that is a very hefty fee that will be starting to come down next year. And we're also very excited that our new reading program incorporates social studies, so we're hoping that we kind of kill two birds with one stone with that. So hopefully we can get them down next year more towards the other grade levels, being around that 110 to 120 price range.
Board, questions? Kathy?
No.
All righty, I'll entertain a motion.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please raise your right hand. Motion carries 5-0. All righty, Neola.
Okay, board, a while ago, I think it was the last meeting maybe, I gave you the next batch of Neola policies for you to start taking a look at. It was update 31.1. I haven't had any questions about anything in there, so hopefully that means that you're comfortable with everything that is in there that Neola has recommended. And if you have any questions, we can certainly go over those now. I can pull those up. Otherwise, if the board is ready, we can go ahead and get that approved. And I will move on to the next batch.
Questions, board?
How many more, or so you, like 2 more then? Because
I
it
think
looked like
so.
from what Dee had sent, that was from the end of 18.
I think so.
Kathy, do you have any questions?
No.
All righty, I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
Got a motion and a second. All those in favor, please raise your right hand. Motion carries 5-0. All righty, no public comments, correct? All righty, board member and administrator comments. Who's up?
Principals, anything you'd like to say?
I do want to say just one thing, a big shout out to the town of Cherubusco. I don't know if you've heard or not, but Wednesday night, we're doing a farewell parade. One of our things that we love the most about the end of the year is we wave to the buses. Well, we can't do that this year. So I'm working with the town of Cherubusco, or town of Busco. We've created a parade on Mulberry Street from 6 to 7:30, where we are going to literally line the streets 6 feet apart from each other. The town has shut down all of the roads coming in, are going to provide police for us to kind of mark the areas where they're going to enter. And also that Nate Van Horn is going to DJ for us. So kind of a little bit of closure for our parents and our kids. And it's been nice to work with the town to get letters out to those people who live on Mulberry Street to let them know that they will not be able to get out for an hour and a half, but also to have that partnership. And I think they want closure just as much as we all do. So special thank you to all of them.
Jim, anything?
Yeah, I would like to shout out our staff for doing an outstanding job. They pivoted the last 9 weeks. They went from occasionally doing e-learning during the winter to doing it full time. So they did an outstanding job. very professional. I know it's difficult. A lot of them were available 24/7 to their students, so I appreciate that. Our students responded really well too, so I'm very proud of them. We've had several videos. I don't know if you've noticed them. Farewell video went out to our seniors. We also have a farewell thank you to the 8th grade students, which is outstanding. And then we had some other things. Lastly, you probably are aware that we have locker clean out on May 27th and 28th. We have that organized so that we can clean out lockers and kind of wrap up the year. And it's been very hard on a lot of us, but proud to, in 2 days, we'll be finished.
Well, the track was supposed to get started today.
Oh, yeah. Forgot about that.
I have a feeling that got backed up. They, we had reached out to them to see if they could start early. They originally said no, because they already had their spring schedule already set, but then, early last week, actually, I got a phone call and they had, something had changed and they were ready to start it this week. So they met with Coach Doc, and Coach Sade and Wayne to go out. Last week they went out to see where there was irrigation lines buried, how everything should be laid out, and they were scheduled to start today, but I'm guessing the first nice day they'll be here, so.
The only other thing I guess I'd say, I want to echo both of what the principal said. A huge thank you to the town and to our local health officials for working with us to plan all these events, whether it's graduation or the parade or any of these things. This has obviously not been a normal year in any way. And it's nice to be able to do some of those things and have their support and backing, and then help brainstorm through how we can make these things work out. So big thank you. And also a huge thank you to our staff, because this has been a year we will never forget, I think, for lots of reasons. And, you know, it's been very hard for teachers. Some of our teachers are naturally more comfortable with technology than others, and even our kids and parents. And we know how hard this has been for everybody to try to stay on track with a course when you're dealing with technology challenges and distance challenges and not being able to just sit and work together. And so a huge kudos to them. We've learned a lot. This is one of those times where when you're thrown into it, you either sink or swim, and we are trying to swim and keep going and make the things as good as we can for kids. And I've said this whole time, just think how appreciative we're going to be when we get to go back to normal, and real school will just feel much easier, I think, because we won't deal with all this. But at the same time, I think we'll have some positives that come out of this, just how we've learned new techniques and strategies that digital can support our mission and support, even when we have regular classroom instruction again. I think a lot of our teachers have picked up a lot of neat tools that will help even support their learning and make it even better than it was before. So, but with that said, I sure am ready to see the kids again and to get back to school. That's for sure. So thank you to everybody for your support. And when we get time, we'll keep going.
Board?
Rain garden should be done
Oh,
this week. Finish up concrete out of the rain, of course. Then we just gotta figure out what we're gonna do, because we're gonna work with the school to
yeah.
put in the green part of it, so
Okay.
we're gonna have to decide what we're gonna do, but it should be ready.
Good.
Looks pretty nice.
Does.
Have there been any guidelines from the state yet on restarting school?
No.
They started this summer.
So the most recent thing that was officially stated was it about a week and a half ago in the governor's address when he talked about the Back on Track plan. All he basically said was, once we get to phase 5, he'll be ready to talk about schools. The trouble is, right now, the anticipated timeline is that's July 4th.
Yeah.
My gut is, I think he was just saying around then might be when things would reopen. I'm hoping he didn't literally mean he's not going to talk about it until then. He has to start before then, because some schools start 3 weeks after that. I will say, I just saw, actually, right before walking into this meeting, I saw an update that has said that the state health department is going to work with the Department of Ed to start getting us guidance for things that they're going to expect to see for schools to reopen and whatnot. So I'm hopeful in the next few days we'll start getting something, because right now we've got nothing. And I will tell you from a personal side, one of the hardest things right now is it's being left to local health departments to give a lot of the guidance. And the trouble is, because of where they're located or who's in charge or what their resources are or are not, that guidance can be really, really different. The guidance I'm hearing here in Motley County is very different than what all the Allen counties are hearing, and they're 5 minutes away. And that just puts us in a very tough position. And there are differences between our communities, but at the same time, I think we just need some general, here are the basic do's and don'ts that every school needs to follow. I think that would help us steer a little better if we at least knew, here are the basic blocks that every school has to do no matter what. And right now, there's nothing. So.
There's a lot of going on from the business side. I don't know if there's some things that you could start to, maybe you have a committee that you start to get some ideas of what businesses are doing to segregate.
Parkview hosted a nice webinar a couple weeks ago, and I just got an email today that they're gonna do another one soon. I think they also wanna hear from us what are the questions we're trying to deal with, so they can try to also give us some recommendations. But they've teamed up with the Northeast Indiana Regional Partnership, trying to get things out. I think it is geared towards business, but they've tried to start giving some thoughts on, hey, schools, these are things that might apply to you too.
Well, just things that may be working or don't work type of thing is what I would. I mean, basically where we have problems is not at work, it's what happens outside of work. Because we do all the social distancing, we do all the masks, we do all the temperature monitoring. And you can't control what people do outside, obviously. And that's where it's like, well, I was at my friends at a friend's and their dad was sick last week. It wasn't. And then they go into quarantine for 2 weeks. That's how basically a lot of the guidelines that we're using and such. And then we're going to thermal cameras on the entryway rather than the handhelds. And that way you can, when they walk through the door, you can start to detect, because they all come through the same doors here too.
Right.
You know, you can discreetly pull them aside. And that's common in the airport, in Asia, that type of thing. But if all the schools are gonna get that technology before it starts, you better start looking right now, because it.
So I'm glad you brought that up, because one concern we've already heard pushback on is if we have to start screening temperatures when students come in, there's already a legal concern that if a student is detected and we pull them aside, there's concern that that will already be a HIPAA violation right there on the spot, that we have identified a student with a potential health issue of any kind right in front of everybody else. And the lawyers are already saying, we gotta think about this, it's different, it's kids and HIPAA protection, so. That's for the lawyers, I guess, to sort out and tell us, but that has already come up, because I know, I've seen other businesses doing that, I watched some videos online. And I thought, oh, that's a neat idea, but so they're saying if schools have to do that, it may have to be done privately, which the thought of screening almost 1,200 kids one at a time privately, I don't know how you do that. So there has to be a medium somewhere in there that can protect that. But,
Or you have the parents sign over
sure.
the ability to
Right,
self-monitor and such coming in,
right.
and then you get by the legal side.
So, and one superintendent was thinking about it and thinking that, you know, if you're gonna do that for kids who ride the bus, shouldn't you really be checking them before they even get on the bus? And then what happens if the bus driver does that and finds a kid? Now what happens? Do they send them home? What if it's 5-year-old, mom and dad have already gone to work, this kid's at the bus stop, and then, so just thinking ahead on what are you gonna do if.
That's why the committee, you know, get the group together before August.
Right.
To think through all those scenarios.
Right.
Because you're right, you could put the cameras on the buses too.
So,
Or they're doing that someplace.
I haven't heard that.
I'm trying to think, I've heard of that actually already.
on the bus,
On school buses?
On mass transit.
I had heard that.
I don't know if it's in Japan or whatever. You can't, you basically walk up, they check
Right.
you, and then you get on.
Interesting.
Dean, anything? Kathy, anything?
No,
Alrighty, well, I guess everybody, thanks for being with us in the public and at home. And, I guess we'll adjourn this meeting at 7:35. Thank you.
Next meeting is June 15th. All right. Okay. Good to see ya.
crazy.
Yes. I've spent enough time on Zoom.
I did see that somewhere too.
Turn this
I
off.
just turned the camera set up.
Yeah, when I go to China, when you come off the shuttle on the international terminal,